Hello, welcome to Under the First Floor Lo-Fi Podcast, shitty recordings of bands you should like. My name's David Settle, and on today's episode we have Ana Woulfe from Philadelphia. She plays some really cool experimental folk music and is an incredible artist, does screen printing and hand-drawn prints, and actually did the art for the compilation of the Under the First Floor podcast, the first 20 bands, which, again, if you have not seen yet, is on our Bandcamp, underthefirstfloor.bandcamp.com. You can buy a tape there. We finally have them in. But apart from that shameless promotion, Ana played a few songs from her newest release, From the Canopy. Her recordings are more orchestrated with some cool random noises and drum loops and nature loops interwoven throughout. But for this performance, she was just playing with electric guitar and singing. So we had some solo performances from her new record, From the Canopy, as well as a couple of new songs, including this first song, which is called Hunters. I hope you enjoy.
Hello, hello. My voice and echo come screeching out in soundless night to greet a wide world. Oh, hunter, you haunt me, your slow moving chemicals in the lake. Hunter, you haunt me, don't bring your violence, your storm, your earthquake. And my voice is an echo. I'm trying to forget, standing still in fleeting air, just gasping, decaying. Oh, hunter, you haunt me, your ghosts are fermenting in my chest. Hunter, you haunt me, your thunder brings me to flesh and blood again. Your violent boom, violent boom, violent boom, violent boom. Haunt you, all waterfall, your vision bare. Hunters, I dare to haunt you, I'll watch you bare your teeth at my nightmare. Hello, my name is Ana Woulfe. I live in Philadelphia. Been here for a little while. Love it here. Not planning on leaving.
Was everything you played today from the new album, From the Canopy?
No, there was two older songs. Okay. One was from an album called A House is a Holding, which came out last year. The other is from an album called Silence, which came out 2 years ago. But that also was kind of like an updated version of the song.
Okay.
And I updated it and then took apart like the updated part and then incorporated that into From the Canopy. So I don't totally know the answer to that question.
Fair enough.
But yeah, those are two older songs and then 3 newer songs.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you just put out that new album, right? When did that come out?
Yeah,
right?
That was like April, maybe?
April, okay, yeah.
April or May. We had like a plan for June, and then the person who was putting it out was my friend John, who makes music at Sundog.
Okay.
I love...
From Boston, right?
Yeah, love his music. I love the label. He was like, oh, I don't normally do like press stuff. Maybe I could try press stuff, and we can like wait a month. And I don't know, nothing was really happening, and I was like, there's no reason to keep this album let's just get it. I also get really anxious.
I've done the same thing.
And like, there was one album I tried to do press stuff with. I normally self-release everything.
Okay.
And I like got some things, but it didn't totally feel any different than just like tossing it out there. So ever since that, it just feels better to like finish something and then put it up online.
Yeah.
And make the tapes and play the songs and just like move on to the next thing.
Is that frustrating to you?
No, I don't really care, I guess. I feel like at a certain point, I was around a lot of people who were like getting tons of press, getting big, and I knew that wasn't really what I wanted, but it was like around, so I was like, I guess I can like try and do this, and then like, I don't know, at a certain point, I feel like I've just been like undoing a lot of like things I was told. I mean, my whole life, that's like a lifelong process. But especially with like art making, I'm just so happy just to create. And anything that distracts me from creating, I'm just trying to get rid of. And press and things like that just feels like a distraction.
Yeah.
I'm not making it for stereo gum or whatever. Like, I'm making it because it's fun and it makes me happy. So that's why I do it. It's a process to confront unwanted accumulation. It takes effort flow gracefully to not get caught up. When you communicate, imagine water being diverted. When you agitate, there is responsibility to take. It's all in how you talk and respectfully resolve. Just try to learn to embrace friends with water. Still a process to confront unwanted accumulation. Still takes effort to flow gracefully, to not get caught up. It takes effort to confront the fact you might be wrong and correct your path knowingly. It's a drawing out of self to reveal a blank form, happy to ebb and flow. It's all in how you talk and respectfully resolve. Just try to learn to embrace friends with water. There isn't really anything that focuses on more DIY stuff right now. Post Trash is pretty good. That's like the closest thing we've got.
My favorite.
But I don't know. I always long for the days of the MP3 blogs.
Those are the best.
When I was in high school, I just like learned about so much cool music. Just reading blogs. Then at one point there was like a mega blog called Altered Zones. Did you read Altered Zones?
Yeah.
And then that was just like only cool stuff. But then it was also like affiliated with Pitchfork, so they were like, we're gonna start our own thing, and then it just never really. Now those people are booking shows as ad hoc in New York.
Yeah. I've heard of that.
But they're not talking about the cool secret stuff. But also, like, you found out about my music because you saw a show poster I made.
Yeah.
And then just, like, talked to Nico about it. And that's, to me, like, the coolest thing.
For sure, yeah.
And, like, that's, like, the ideal situation to me. I've seen so many, like, bubbles of music come and go. And that is, like, just created by press. And then they move on to something else. And then everyone who was in that bubble is, like, moves on to like, maybe they figure out a way to keep going. Or they transcend the bubble.
Yeah. Or they just, like, stagnate.
Yeah, or they just, like, do other things.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, that's cool. I was, like, touring the country for a little bit, but can't really do it now. So I'll just, like, do this other thing.
I feel like once you get to that level, it's hard to go back to just, like, total DIY touring, you know? Or something.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I love house shows. I feel like if I ever got to a point where I couldn't play a fun, weird house show, I would be so disappointed. Even, like, a few weeks ago, I played at this cabin in the woods in Vermont, in the northeast kingdom of Vermont, so, like, very, very far northeast in a town called Plainfield. And then I got to this cabin, and I had a bunch of mutual friends with the people who lived there, and then, like, 20 or so cool kids showed up at this, like, random cabin in the woods.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. And just, like, this magical DIY feeling that when you get it, it's just, it feels so great.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've also had many miserable, weird shows where I, like, show up alone and no one talks to me, and then I'm, like, on a bill with, like, 4 hardcore bands.
Yep.
And I'm just, like, playing solo acoustic, and you know, it's a give and take. But
I feel like those are at least more interesting than, like, because then I see bands that, like, have booking agents or something and only play bars, and they still have those shitty shows, but then it's just like a shitty show at a bar, and it's just, like, not even a fun story out of it.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know.
Yeah, I love the creativity that DIY forces you to have.
Yeah.
Also, the weird, cool situations you can get into, and the freedom that it gives you. Like, I love creating in obscurity because I don't have to answer to anyone.
Yeah.
I finish an album. No one says, oh, you need, like, a pop. There isn't, like, a single on this, so you need to, like, make another song or something like that. Very happy that no one cares.
Yeah.
And I can just put something up, and my friends will listen to it, and maybe someone will find it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I want out of art.
Hell yeah.
There is a bell sounding on its own terms. The ringing out brings the light to where I can't see, but not for long. Brief oscillations of a setting day, but no one noticed the light change. It was the tonal feeling slowly changing the space, and you let go of the memory, and it felt fine, like washing the same dish, like scouring twine. I keep it all in, I keep it close. Echo the real one, sprawl out in the empty. Sorry that the light changed. It was the northern exposure finally showing its face. Echo the real one comes cascading back. Echo the real back. Echo the real one comes cascading back. Echo the real one, it always comes cascading. And there is a bell sounding, ending, 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 ending. The music that has really stuck with me has come to me in like a whispered, like just like a secret thing that has arrived. Like someone is like, you need to listen to this, and then it's like not something I would ever hear about anywhere except for like the fact that my friend gave me a tape or sent me an MP3 or whatever. So I feel like that sort of thing.
Yeah. Are there any like notable ones that stick out to you that were like kind of landmarks when like someone passed on to you and you're like, oh wow?
There's this one person, Caethua, who is based out of Maine.
How's that spelled?
Caethua. Well, now she has a band called Clay Camaro and the County Line Bandits, which is like a cowboy band. Cowboy bar band, I think.
Cool.
But for a while, she was in Bloomington, and I think she continued Caethua when she was in Maine. But that music, my friend Z showed me, and it just like blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then we saw her play, and it was just like me and 3 of my friends watching her play, and it like really just blew my mind. And she was one of the first people I'd ever met with like the approach that I'm taking, and it was just super inspiring and cool. My friend Mike, who I record with a bit, they showed me so much music that I'm like still sorting through it all, and that's like almost 4 years later. But they turned me on to a lot of cool secret bands that make just like beautiful, haunting music. Like this band Big Blood, also a Maine band. This one record by them, Big Blood and the Wicked Hex, is just like so perfect. But I mean, like I've always been searching out stuff and looking for interesting things, and I feel like in high school I found K Records, and that like kind of just opened a lot of doors, because I listened to a lot of punk music, but I didn't necessarily relate to a lot of the punk that I saw. But K was like punk, but in a different way.
Yeah.
For someone who doesn't, or who's like not loud.
Yeah.
And generally more like gentle.
Yeah.
So finding K was awesome. And I mean, there are really loud, abrasive bands on K that I also love, but just like learning more about that aesthetic.
Yeah.
And also that it continued, that they never stopped, is also very cool to me. And like, you know, I was 18 and saw the Hive Dwellers play, and Calvin Johnson was like up front for every opening band watching.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like inspired me to start a record label. And he was like, what's the name of your label? And to me, that was like, just experiencing that was so inspiring, just for someone to be so ready to like learn about what you're doing and so excited.
Yeah.
It's not something you encounter much, especially with people who have been doing it for a while.
Yeah, for real.
So yeah, that attitude, which I've also encountered in a few other people related to that world, was very cool and inspiring to me.
I feel like you hit the 3 geographical locations for like underground, like secret bands of like Washington, Bloomington, and Maine.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
yeah, and Vermont too.
Oh,
big influence from the Canopy was Kurt Wiseman, who I think at this point isn't as well known as his brother Chris.
I don't know if I know either of them.
Oh well, you should check out Chris Wiseman too.
For sure.
Kurt Wiseman, he hasn't really released anything new in a long time, but he made these really beautiful albums like 10 years ago
Oh,
that
cool.
are really wild and
Yeah.
like just like sounds coming from everywhere.
Yeah. Good headphone music.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But also just like I don't know how he writes the songs.
Mhm.
They're so confusing. There's one song in particular by him called Spiritual Sci-Fi that when I heard it, it felt like I had known it all my life. It was a really weird feeling that doesn't happen often, and I was just like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Nice.
He has another little EP called Kurt Sings that I
Okay.
feel like was the real influence on from the Canopy because it's just like weird shifting filtered sounds all
Oh,
over
cool.
the place.
Yeah.
And also this person who makes music as Amps for Christ.
I've heard of that, yeah.
One album called Circuits was a big influence on this album in particular.
Mhm.
That's this guy, Henry, who lives somewhere in California. He
Uh-huh.
builds amps and guitars, and I think he mainly just records with all the stuff he builds, but some of it's like kind of sloppy, noisy sounding, and a lot of the sounds are just like incredible
Yeah.
noise, distorted sounds. But then he's also singing these like traditional folk songs
Oh, cool. Yeah.
through many layers of tape hiss. So I will not tamper anymore, I will deliberate, talk myself through, ask the question and act to make sure to have the least impact, to regenerate, to bear wide empathy. So I will not force anything, I will let growth come and growth go exactly as it wants to, embracing the field that lies fallow. It's just like the song I heard when the fog lifted. I was walking home and the cherry blossoms fell, their fragrance nursing me permeated my skull. What simple joy, what a beautiful shroud for the pavement to wear until they rot away, washed out with the rain. So I will not tamper anymore, I will nest, I will build, but I will not reach further. I only want to delicately exist and be fertile substrate among constant conflict. No wonder the rewards feel so shallow. It's just like the seaweed that wrapped around my leg, floating down Everett Street until a sudden noise, the water rushing through the pipes and the hum of the fan. I was awake and the house was so cold, I felt it in my bones. And while the city slept, I'd snuck back to my home. I record everything. Well, there's one thing I've released that I recorded at my friend Mike's house in Olympia, Washington, just on a reel-to-reel. We did it like live. So that's the only thing I've done on tape. Everything else is done on Logic
Oh, okay.
Pro
Cool.
X.
Sounds very like unpolished in a good way.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
that's cool to hear.
I can't stand polished sound. So even though I'm like cheating,
Yeah.
well, it's not cheating. It's just
You're
using.
adapting.
Yeah. It's the easiest and cheapest way for me to be recording,
Yeah,
and I
for
can
sure.
do it infinitely. So it's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Punch in.
Yeah, I can punch in.
I missed that.
Would have killed for a punch in during the sessions. Right now, I live in Germantown, which is northwest Philadelphia. And I live in this house, this big stone Victorian house it's built in like the 1850s. I live on the
Cool.
3rd floor,
Uh-huh.
and I have a studio room for making music in. And I would have some weekdays off, but I live with 3 other people, and they would all be gone. And then I live in a twin, but the other side of the twin is abandoned. And then there are no houses around.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of distance. So it would be like I would hear all the doors close at 8:30, and then I would walk into my studio and just start like making tons of feedback and like having
Just layering noise.
yeah, just like being really loud, but no one could hear me.
That's great.
So I had a lot of fun recording that, and it would just be like work days. I would just get up, record from like 8:30 to 5 until they got home, and just try and get as much done as possible. And then no one even knew that I was
Also,
being
yeah.
so loud.
I relate to that.
Yeah. So yeah, I would just like try and record as much as possible. And then I had Carl Blau had just moved to Philly,
Yeah.
and it ended up being like around the corner from me. So
Awesome.
he played some saxophone. My partner Nora sang on a few songs. Slow burying, I am slowly burying my body in layers of cloth and bone, so it doesn't show. Soft and encouraging, I am softly encouraging my life to be free and affirming, naturally, genuinely. And it brings a feeling that is so rare. Raw progress by any means is so rare. Slow burning, I am slowly burning. Holy wood from my bedroom mantle, it clouds my room with thick uplifting smoke, and this ritual slows down the day. Unbroken circles arcing up in the splendid silence of the mind. It's all aligned, and knowing now how the body will change, I embrace and can't wait for the subtle changing of the skin and the palace within. To feel at home anywhere is so rare. To stay true to the old self is somewhere, but I am always remembering. Prince has been the most consistent musician in my entire life. I love Prince the same way I loved Prince when I was like 10.
Yeah.
I love Prince so much that I took out the J card from my copy of Purple Rain, which I got at the Salvation Army, and put it in my binder sleeve.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
So, I mean, Prince is in a secret.
Yeah.
In some ways, but there are many secrets to Prince.
Yeah. He also was someone who didn't really give a fuck about like, I mean, he got the like recognition, but like definitely did his own thing.
Yeah. He has lots of songs about like don't trust Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
I've always also loved Prince, but kind of more on a surface level for a long time of just knowing like the hits, kind of. But like in the past couple of years, I was doing like deep dives into his like older discography, and like it's all so amazing. And he recorded it all himself, and like
Yeah. And then you start learning that like every song has like a 25-minute rehearsal version.
Ooh.
That's like way better.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you should check out the rehearsals.
I need to. I saw the video that came out of him doing Nothing Compares to You with all the rehearsal footage. Was like, that's what started me. Like,
Yeah,
diving
that's
into it.
incredible.
So beautiful to see. Because it's so DIY. Like, they're just in a studio, like learning all these dance moves by themselves. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So good. Well,
Thanks so much to Anna for coming down to the basement and playing some songs and for making incredible art. You can find examples of her art as well as music and blogs and certain recommendations for vegan eating on her website, deeperclarity.net. And she is also on Instagram at deeperclaritynet. If you'd like to get in touch with me about the podcast, you can email me at underthefirstfloor@gmail.com. It's also on Twitter at UTFF Podcast and on Instagram at underthefirstfloor. For the last couple of songs, I'm going to leave you with some recommendations from Anna. The first being Amps for Christ, a song called The Gray Funnel Line. This is from 1999's release called Circuits, which was originally on the Verniforum label, but was reissued recently by Waterwing Records. It's the project of Henry Barnes, who used to play in Man is the Bastard, which was not what I was expecting when I researched the band. He made really cool music, melding traditional folk sounds with noise and homemade instruments. It sounds like they recorded on tape too, a lot of tape hiss, a lot of lo-fi, really cool out there stuff. And I'm excited to dig into more of their discography, as well as the next person, which is Chris Wiseman, ending the episode out with a song called Welcome to the Sand. This is from 2012's release Beetleboro on the great OSR tapes. They put out a lot of amazing cassettes in the last decade or so. Chris, though, is from Vermont and has put out a multitude of recordings with a lot of different songs. He seems to be the type that just cranks out 2-minute gems constantly, and they're all great. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hope you have a great week, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Finance ship that sails the sea is still a prison for the likes of me. But give me wings like no saw the sand turn gray. The TV changed this way. It's everybody's way that's easier than mine. I saw the sad state play. The movie's far away. I saw the cactus wait and heard a little mind. I've been rotating. I've been sick to my stomach with fear. I've had about enough for years, and I don't want to. I've been collating. I've been drifting a river of mirrors. I've had about enough more gear to come inside you. Heard the cave is blue. I heard the Grand PA oft in the canyon play. The party buzz decay like bugs upon a vine. And in the horse of earth I heard ironic mirth. The rotten body smurf that died a second time. I've been rotating. I've been sick to my stomach with fear. I've had about enough for years, and I don't want to. I've been collating. I've been drifting a river of mirrors. I've thought about enough new gear to come inside you, where the cave is blue. I saw the sand turn gray. The TV changed this way. It's everybody's way that's easier than mine. That's easier than mine. That's easier than mine.